Welcome to the Expert Insight series, brought to you by Benchmark Products, a series where we seek out experts in the pharmaceutical and life science industries in order to help our listeners advance the industry. I'm your host, Jenny Parker, and today we have two guests with us. We have Matt Ferrin, CFO and COO of Benchmark Products, and Mike Kosinski, President of CEPro. Today's topic revolves around cleanroom design and construction, a critical aspect of aseptic processing in the pharmaceutical and life science industry. So let's dive into the discussion.
All right. Well, hi, Jenny. Hi, Mike. It's great to be here today. My name is Matt Ferrin. I joined Benchmark a few years ago. So Benchmark as a business is celebrating its 30th year this year. And the core of our business is serving the cleanroom production space within the life sciences industry. So our customers are pharmaceutical manufacturers and cell and gene companies, et cetera. And our focus is on providing cleaning, disinfecting, and PPE products into the cleanroom production space within life sciences, as well as things like single-use tubing assemblies and specialty products that are important in the manufacture and production of life science drugs.
Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, Matt. Thank you for that introduction. My name is Mike. Again, I'm the president of CEPro. We've been in business since 2007. When we started, based on a vision of helping our clients better prepare their facilities for operations. We noticed a gap in the industry between the architects and the engineers and the owners. That was leaving clients with facilities that were not optimal for their operations. So we provide or serve as a consultant to help bridge that gap between the owners and the users of the facilities and the engineers and architects that are putting these facilities on paper for them. So at the end of the day, they have a facility that operates according to their needs and meets their requirements of their facilities. We've been involved in hundreds of cleanroom construction projects throughout the country and even into Mexico. Cleanrooms is one of the types of facilities that we specialize in. We also work with healthcare environments, operating rooms, quarantine rooms, isolation rooms, as well as high containment facilities and bioresearch facilities and so on. So we specialize in all kinds of critical spaces, critical environments that have regulatory needs, in particular, whether it's USP or the FDA requirements, or even the BMBL as it pertains to high containment biological facilities.
Well, Mike, fantastic. Well, with all that experience, I'd like us to walk us through the steps involved in designing and constructing a cleanroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. The most important part of the design, and I'm sure Matt can attest to this, is the initial conversations up front where you really have to design your own, what we call the OPR, Owner's Project Requirements. And that's the document that really defines how the customer, how the client, the end user is ultimately going to use that facility. It determines the equipment that goes into the space. It determines the finishes in the facility. It determines the electrical loads, the mechanical loads. It's an all-encompassing document that really helps us define and fine-tune how the facility is going to be used and ultimately designed to ensure that at the end of the day, that facility is the optimal design for that particular client.
So Matt, I know that Benchmark has just last year installed a number of clean rooms and even has plans for expansion. Can you help me and our listeners understand how has the installation of the clean rooms been integral to Benchmark Products service expansion?
The core of Benchmark's business is selling into cleanroom space within life science manufacturing. And as part of that, it's important that products that we sell and produce for our customers are packaged and assembled in a highly controlled, clean environment. We completed a facility move last year, and that facility move almost tripled our operational footprint. And within our cleanroom production spaces, we doubled our cleanroom production space, and also have plans to expand to more than triple the amount of cleanroom production space that we have today, all with the intent of being able to provide our customers services like cleanroom packaging for cleanroom for cleaning products. Single-use tubing assemblies that need to be manufactured in a controlled environment need to be assembled and put together in a controlled environment. And literally, the expectations of our customers, as we know these products are going directly into the manufacture of life-saving therapies and pharmaceuticals.
Obviously, a clean room construction isn't always straightforward. So, Mike, what kind of challenges typically come up when planning for new clean rooms? And what advice do you have to overcome these obstacles?
Well, Jenny, as I stated earlier, it's important for us to understand early on what those owner's project requirements are so that the facility is appropriately designed and can be maintained in a cost-effective manner to ultimately meet the needs and the requirements of the end user, which in this case is, your clean room manufacturing facility. The challenges are, most people don't fully understand how a clean room needs to be designed and how a clean room needs to function on its own apart from the use within the space. So a clean room is not just a room that's clean, it's a room that needs to be designed to keep itself clean. So air changes and environmental requirements are very crucial in these types of environments, and that includes temperature and humidity control. So it's important that those aspects of the environment not be overlooked. Many times a cleaning client or someone that's looking for a clean room will only look at air changes or will only look at the HEPA filtration, and they will ignore some of the other critical parameters that really drive the air quality within that space and make it challenging to maintain and keep that facility clean and operational throughout the life cycle of that facility.
Well, Mike, you've just mentioned there how critical it is to get a clean room design right. So how do you ensure that the materials used in clean room construction meet the necessary industry standards for cleanliness and contamination control?
Well, there's a lot of considerations that must be taken into account, including the number of people that are working in that facility, the type of work, whether it's an assembly line type of facility or working on top of a work surface. So even the airflow within the space, the directional airflow in the space is critical, because if you have an area of high activity in one corner of the room and then another area of the room is just used for storage or doesn't have a whole lot of activity going on, you have to treat those areas separately, almost separately within that space to ensure that the area where the highest level of particulate is being generated is scrubbing that air more rapidly. So you may want to incorporate a higher density of HEPA filtration at the ceiling above those, or incorporate low-level returns in those spaces where it can more quickly draw out that particulate. So that's just one example of how functionality or traffic patterns within the facility, workflow within that facility can affect the mechanical design and the airflow within the space. Pressurization is also critical too. You don't want a clean room space to be negatively pressurized, so you ensure that it's positively pressurized so that it's always pushing out. It's not drawing dirty, contaminated air under the doors through the cracks and the crevices within the facility. So pressurization is also a very critical component.
Well, Mike, one thing I know a lot of listeners are interested in is what are the potential long-term maintenance and operational costs associated with clean room construction, and maybe some hidden costs or other things that companies might not consider during the start of a project, and how could those be mitigated? And feel free, Matt, to chime in, especially being in charge of finance.
Yeah, so as I stated earlier, there's a lot of different ways to design a clean room, and really the job of the clean room again is to keep itself clean and to minimize the manpower, the labor required to keep it to keep the facility clean and within the ISO specification that is required. HEPA filtration is obviously critical, but there's also numerous ways of doing that within a facility, and ensuring that the most efficient method possible is implemented in the design is one of the tasks that we take pretty seriously. A lot of clean room facilities will draw their air back to a centralized ventilation system and push it through large HEPA filtration systems that are very costly to install and costly to maintain. You can also, depending upon the outside air requirements of a facility, you can implement localized recirculation, like we did in the case of the Benchmark Cleanroom. There wasn't a lot of outside air requirements due to the fact that there wasn't a lot of exhaust requirements in the facility because there was no chemical handling. So we were able to use localized recirculation, which is much more cost-effective, smaller motors to move the air, much more cost-effective way to move the air through the facility and keep itself clean. There's also PPE that a lot of people neglect to consider when they're designing these facilities. PPE is important in ensuring that the particulate and especially sterility in an aseptic clean room environment is maintained. Without the administration of the proper PPE, you contaminate your facility every time you go in. So that's a costly endeavor, and you guys being manufacturers of PPE and sell that to a lot of clients, I'm sure nobody knows that better than you guys. You also have to consider the type of maintenance and cleaning that's required in those facilities. In aseptic cleaning facilities, sterility is obviously the key, and so there's a lot of cleaning requirements, routine cleaning, whether it's weekly or monthly, depending upon your SOPs. Those are real hard costs that need to be considered as part of the maintenance of the facility, in addition to the simple maintenance of the ventilation system serving that space. They should not be neglected, because when they go down, you lose containment. It's a critical function of the facility as well. So there's a lot to consider with long-term costs of the facility, but there are ways to streamline that and make things more efficient energy-wise with regards to the mechanical systems in particular.
Like Mike said, the priority in the clean room is maintaining cleanliness. We have ISO Class 7 rooms, and the priority there is maintaining particulate levels that are below ISO standards. Some of the decisions that are made upfront in the design phase have a direct impact on what your ongoing maintenance cost is going to look like. And like Mike had said, understanding how are the filters serviced? How do you make sure that the plenum is properly sized and spaced so that you don't have to have folks crawling into the plenum to do maintenance? Those are all decisions that are made up front, but have a direct impact on what your ongoing maintenance cost is going to look like. And then things like gowning protocols, cleaning protocols, those are things that you don't necessarily link to direct maintenance costs, but they have an impact. And the more diligent you are in maintaining your gowning and cleaning protocols, the less of the non-routine maintenance and service that you're going to run into. And so those are the things that we've tried to think about as we've worked with CEPro to design our clean room, and then as we have our gowning protocols and our maintenance schedules lined up to make sure that we can maintain our cost budget, because that's important, but the priority is making sure that the room remains clean.
Still keeping on that long-term theme, Mike, how can companies ensure that the clean room design will accommodate any future changes or expansion?
Great question, Jennifer. Thank you for that. In fact, the expansion and flexibility was a big topic of our conversation during the design of your clean room there in Lincolnshire. We spent a lot of time discussing that, discussing flexibility, discussing future use of the space surrounding that. And one thing we incorporated there was the use of modular clean room walls and partitions. A typical stick-built facility, whether with studs and drywall, creates a lot of dust and debris when you're demoing. So expansion in the future really results in a lot of contamination of the space, and really makes it challenging to keep that space clean and ready for expanded or new cleanroom space, where a modular system such as what we installed there in Lincolnshire can be quickly unbolted, taken apart, new with minimal contamination of the surrounding space, minimal dust generation, and then can just be expanded, maybe relocated. So modular construction provides a lot of flexibility in that regard. You got to be really careful though when sizing mechanical systems for expansion, because an oversized mechanical system can lead to humidity issues, temperature control issues, a lot of temperature control swings and humidity swings, because an oversized unit that is designed for future expansion may not be able to accommodate, or maybe may not be able to tightly control a smaller space that it's currently serving. So that was another discussion that we had with Matt, and Matt made the right choice to invest in a really high quality mechanical system out there that provides some linear control of heating and cooling without getting into being too oversized so that it can't serve the current space. So Matt made some very wise choices in regards to future expansion looking forward. It was a result of some of those great conversations we had going prior to construction.
Well, on that note, Matt, I'd actually like to know, what was your impression of working with CEPro?
Well, Benchmark and CEPro have actually worked together for a long time on customer projects, worked together on customer cleanroom builds and meeting customer expectations that way. With the facility move that Benchmark completed last year, this was the first time Benchmark and CEPro have worked together on a Benchmark cleanroom, which has been a really fantastic experience. So one of the fastest growing segments within our industry is cleanroom supplies, cleaning products, as well as single-use tubing assemblies. Benchmark maintains an ISO Class 7 standard in our cleanrooms. When we planned our facility move into Lincolnshire, we knew that we needed to maintain an ISO Class 7 standard within our cleanrooms. One of the fastest growing segments within our business is cleanroom supplies, as well as single-use tubing assemblies. And we know that our customer expectations in the space that we produce those in is high, and it's a critical need that they have. And so we want to maintain the same expectations on ourselves as a critical need. So when we began the planning process, we talked to Mike and the CEPro team to say, hey, we know what we need to do in the room, and we know kind of the general size. We think we know the general size, but we don't know how to build and how to design a clean room. Like Mike said, the owner's project requirement, the OPR meeting and document that we engaged initially in, was critical to the whole project. And we found that the discussion with CEPro was fantastic. They led us through, okay, here's what Benchmark, here's what we know we want from a clean room space and the types of products we're going to be producing in there and the number of people that are going to be working there. But from there, just deciding things like, what's the mechanical system? How big does the room need to be? How do you design the HEPA filters to be appropriate? What types of materials do you use on flooring and walls, all that? Without the help of CEPro and expertise that they brought, we really would have been lost in that whole design process. So we can't be understated the importance of getting those initial design requirements nailed down and do it correctly and do it well. And CEPro really has the expertise that helped us go through that design phase. They helped us to size the mechanical system properly. They helped us pick out the things like flooring and the HEPA filters, things like that. And then from there, as the design kind of wrapped up, we said, okay, now we know what we need to do. We also then engaged CEPro to help us with project management, to help us build this clean room. And CEPro came in with just a fantastic project management team and took it from design all the way to completion and certification, which was important for us because we wanted a third-party certification on our ISO Class 7 clean room. And CEPro took the lead and worked really well with both us as a customer, but also with other contractors that we had working in the space as well. From the design phase to when those clean rooms were complete, really we were on time and on budget through the whole project, which was important for us as we were moving into the facility. You know, one thing that we talked about earlier is thinking about future expansion and how do you think about designing a room today, knowing that tomorrow your needs may be different. And like Mike had said, that's a big question for us because we expect that we're going to nearly triple the clean room space that we have over the next few years. So Mike and team really helped us kind of think through, okay, what are the decisions that we need to make now with this clean room to know that we can expand down the road. Some things you have to build just for the room you have. The mechanical system is an example. We had to design it for the room that we have today. But laying out kind of the flow within the room, laying out where in the facility do we install these rooms, decisions like that have a big impact then on your ability to expand down the road. And we felt that working with the CEPro team, really that they provided the expertise and the knowledge to help us kind of define what that is going to look like. and then take the project from beginning to end. And just really a great team, both expertise, but also just great people to work with through the whole project.
Yeah, and if I could add to that real quick, if you remember, man, a lot of our discussion was around product flow in how you're moving raw materials in and package product out. So when you're talking about expansion, you have to make sure that your future, your current transfer out of your final product doesn't go into the next clean room that you're going to build. So we talk a lot about that process and what that's going to look like in the future, and the potential location for future clean room space. And we even incorporated transfer hatches or pass-throughs to ensure that equipment that is moving in and final product that is moving out doesn't get contaminated. It's handled and doesn't violate the integrity of the clean room space as you're opening and closing doors and rolling in and out carts and so on. So there's a lot of those details that went into those early discussions around the OPR, and really helped us to finalize that design prior to swinging any hammers, as they say. And which is important. It's a lot cheaper to make changes on paper than it is once the walls start going up. So having those preparatory meetings up front are crucial to the process.
Yeah, fully agree.
Well, on that note, that brings us to the end of this insightful discussion on clean room design and construction. We'd like to thank our guests, Mike Kosinski, President of CEPro, and Matt Ferrin, CFO and COO of Benchmark Products, for sharing their expertise and valuable insights. We hope that this discussion has shed some light on the critical aspects of clean room design and construction, and the challenges and opportunities that companies might face in this field. We invite you to join us for our next episode of Expert Insights, where we'll continue to bring you thought-provoking discussions with industry leaders. Thanks for watching.